James Whale was buried with a volley of arrows over his grave in a moving ceremony attended by Reform leader Nigel Farage, who was pictured alongside Lizzie Cundy. James, who made a name for himself with his irreverent radio banter, died last month aged 74 following a long battle with cancer. Among the mourners was Eamonn Holmes, pictured arriving at the service, who has long been a close friend of the broadcaster. The legendary broadcaster's career spanned 6 decades. Nigel Farage, dressed in a dark suit and black tie, was accompanied into the service by Lizzie Cundy. James's heartbroken widow, Nadine Lamon Brown, was helped by relatives as she took her seat for the emotional service. The funeral was so well attended that outdoor seating with white wooden chairs was provided so mourners could watch the proceedings on a live relay. TV host Jeremy Kyle was also in attendance, dressed smartly in a black suit. The funeral was held at the beautiful medieval church of St. Nicholas in the picturesque Kent village of Sandway, near Maidstone. Eamonn Holmes attended in a motorized wheelchair following his numerous back surgeries. Mourners were later invited by James' family and widow Nadine to honor the late star following the service at his favorite local pub. Lizzie Cundy, a close friend of James, was visibly emotional as she paid her respects. Singer Matt Goss performed the Frank Sinatra hit In the Wee Small Hours, also known as Unforgettable, changing the lyrics to include James' name. He was pictured with his partner Chantel Brown. His widow Nadine paid tribute, saying, "I first met James 7 years ago, and although our time together was short, it was truly wonderful despite his illness." Nadine added that he would be buried in the suit worn when he collected his MBE, along with his headphones and an arrow. Lizzie Cundy shielded her eyes behind dark glasses after previously opening up about the devastating loss of her dear friend. She was seen chatting with Nigel Farage ahead of the emotional send-off. Christopher Biggins was also present, joined by his husband, Neil Sinclair. In his speech, James's son, James Jr., said, "Dad had a kidney removed when he was first diagnosed, and when I visited him in hospital, he only had the strength to hold my hand." Other stars in attendance included Bobby Davro and Lee John. In his sermon, James' brother Keith told mourners how his sibling had asked him personally to lead the funeral and burial service. The beloved radio presenter was first diagnosed with cancer in 2000. Doctors predicted he had just 3 months to live before he underwent surgery to remove one of his kidneys. James's broadcasting career included stints at the BBC, LBC, and talk radio, as well as an appearance on Celebrity Big Brother. Former Game of Thrones actor James Cosmo gave a reading, while George Michael's former backing singer, Shirley Lewis, performed a heartfelt rendition of Hallelujah. The service ended with 3 arrows being fired over the coffin after it was lowered into the ground. Traffic on a nearby road was briefly halted to allow the unique tribute. Proceedings had been delayed by 15 minutes after musicians were held up in traffic, with guests mingling both inside the church and outside in the warm sunshine. As his coffin entered the church, covered in pink, white, and red roses, Brose's 1980s hit, When Will I Be Famous, played. His widow Nadine followed closely behind. The 80-minute service came to a close with singer Lee John leading mourners in Amazing Grace at the graveside. Afterwards, mourners moved on to a nearby hotel for a wake. Keith Whale thanked guests, saying, "Thank you for coming. James would have loved it." Bobby Davro was seen putting on a brave face at the somber farewell. Pimlico Plumbers boss Charlie Mullins was also among those in attendance. The radio star was first diagnosed with cancer in 2000 and defied doctors' predictions by living for more than 2 decades. But tragically, his cancer returned in 2020, spreading to his spine, brain, and lungs. He credited his wife Nadine with giving him the strength to continue fighting. James Whale was last seen on television in an interview with Nigel Farage, still sharp, still outspoken, and still the broadcaster who never lost his voice. That was the life and farewell of James Whale, a broadcaster who made us laugh, challenged us, and left an unforgettable mark on British media. For more stories and updates from the world of entertainment and beyond, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Star Pulse Daily.